when we talk about the voice, we have to remember, too, this is not just about the race-based referendum. The race-based referendum to put a so-called Indigenous voice to Parliament. And, Albo and everybody else says, oh, it's all just an Uluru statement. But then they ignore the next two bits of it, which are one, treaty, and number two, truth-telling. And yet the same people who say truth-telling also push this lie that there's the Flora and Fauna Acts and all of these other things. So when they say truth-telling, this race-based referendum, and Rowan, I was really glad you did that editorial because it gets to the heart of what this is all about. It's not about truth, it's about propaganda, and that's where this is going.
And can I just say, though, I don't have that much sympathy for Kieran Perkins, who I think was the victim in that joke or mockery that we saw. Because if you sign on to this nonsense, if you sign on to the quotas, if you sign on to, Australia's systematically racist and we're terrible and we've got to, you want to sign up to that narrative, then you become a victim of it. Bad luck.
I know.
You know what? I've got very little sympathy for people who push this, what I see as essentially a dishonest and damaging agenda, not just for the country, but also people who are of colour like myself, because we are not victims in this country and we should stop being bloody painted as we're helpless victims who need quotas to get on in life.
I mentioned Ramesh Thakur, who writes for The Spectator, in that editorial, and he writes this week that he came to Australia. He's from India, and he came to Australia, got citizenship and all the rest, and suddenly he's being told, mate, you don't belong here. This is not the place where does he belong then? And it's the same. It's insanity.
And the Labor Party, which has enjoyed enormous support from the migrant community, should also know that many in the migrant community, wherever they come from, those who chose to come and live here, a lot of them don't like basically being told in a polite way, go back to where you came from, which is what a lot of this activism
but that is. The bottom line of
but there's another element to this
Indigenous activism. The bottom line is always was stolen land. It always will be Aboriginal land. It's not your land. One way or another, the hardcore activists want it back to Indigenous Australia, and that's it.
But I'm glad, Reedy, you also put that point about the migrants, because, there's this big thing on the left where they want to talk down the achievements of migrants because they show up, exactly what they're talking about, which is that, actually Australia isn't racist. I mean, you see the same thing happen in the United States, where the highest earning people in the United States are people who came from India. So riddle me that. How is America such a racist country if they're the highest earning? And then there's many other ethnic groups that come in before Anglo-white Americans. So it's the same thing here.
And those same Indian kids of families who've just worked so hard to give their kids a better life, they're being discriminated against when they apply for university places, because though they may have dark skin, they don't fit the affirmative action categories. So they might have high academic achievements, they may have better community achievements, because that's also important, but they don't get the place because someone who is affirmative action placement will get. I mean, how is that fair?
Look at the recent Conservative Party, Tory Party. Nigel Farage was right. It's no longer a Conservative Party. But regardless of that, look at the recent leadership contest in Britain, where you had Rishi Sunak, you had Sajid David, Kemi Badenoch, so you had a plethora of candidates from all over the world disproving the idea that Britain is racist. But there you go.